Welcome. I hope everybody had a nice weekend. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about the brain today. Spent a good bit of the weekend taking care of some people who have dementia of different kinds, and made me think a lot about how appreciative I am of the way my mind works and able to think clearly. I think we take it for granted sometimes, the way we can just process information and go about our day. And so, from a yoga lens, there are some things we can do to kind of find this balance point in the brain. So there's a lot of times when we, have dominance in one hemisphere of the brain versus the other. And this really has nothing to do with dementia. That's a way more complicated, big, huge topic. But just some things we can do from a yoga perspective to honor and balance the hemispheres of the brain. So the left side of our brain is very much in charge of global thinking, the here and now, creativity, flow, kind of the big picture view. And then the right side of the brain is very linear and very, past, present, future, kind of gathering information, analyzing information, making assessments about the information that it's gathering. And it tends to take the whole and separate down into the parts and then make assessments according to those parts. So things like judgments, not in the bad way of judgments, but how to proceed often comes from the right side of the brain. So of course we need both sides of our brain to be working in good, harmonizing function to be able to have the greatest capacity that our brain can have. And a lot of times when we get stressed, there's a lot that can kind of pull us into one hemisphere of the brain. We have natural dominance. All of us have a natural dominance, and we also have natural dominance during certain parts of the day. So things like alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shoshana, where we breathe through one nostril and then, switch the left and right. This often can be something that can be very balancing for the hemispheres of our brain. And you might notice that when we are going to practice a little Nadi Shoshana in a little while, but you might notice that you have a more open side and a closed side to your breathing. And this is normal. About once every hour, we shift our nasal dominance. And so one of the goals of alternate nostril breathing is seeking that balance. So in my daughter's school, in the Waldorf school, they have this thing called ball of physics, where the kids have racquetballs, and they do a lot of work bouncing from left to right hemispheres or left and right sides of the body, and they do it with each other, and there's all these different patternings. And one of the things that the reasons why they do it is to prepare the brain for learning, to open up both passages, both sides of the brain, so that optimal learning can occur. And there's a few things in yoga that we can do to have optimal left-right brain hemisphere balance and functioning. And some of them are doing cross-lateral work. So doing something that requires the left leg and the right arm to be finding their way with each other, and oppositional forces across the body. And then the next is crossing the midline, things that cross our body half to the other side. And then the third thing that can help from a yoga perspective to balance the hemispheres of the brain is doing unusual, unpredictable movement patterns. So there's a lot that's really great about rhythm, like going for a walk, just left, right, left, right. You do this cross hemisphere work of the left arm and the right leg, and oppositional when you walk or run or swim, or lots of things that we can do. And the rhythm of that is very, very helpful for balancing the brain. I mean, how many times have you been out on a walk and you get into the rhythm of walking, and suddenly the creative mind starts, you start solving the problems that have been kind of puttering about inside your head. Solutions come, creativity comes, and you can open channels, you can open pathways, flow, when you move in that cross hemisphere rhythmic way. But also what can help is weird movements, movements that aren't predictable, like walking is very predictable. So there's a lot you can do from a yoga perspective. And this is one of the things why I really value practices in yoga that are not the same. So there's some lineages of yoga that teach the same sequence always, like you do the exact same thing every time you step onto your mat. And although there's familiarity and comfort in that, which can be really helpful and good, I think you switching things up is really important. There's a lot to choose from in yoga, so why not vary it a little bit to keep flowering our brain a little bit more. So we're going to start with something just a little unusual. I'll turn to my side so you can see this. If you guys you might have done this with me in the past before, but we're going to start this, and it's not as easy as it looks to do. So you're going to start with your right hand, take your index finger of your right hand, and you're going to draw the number 6 with your right index finger. And really, you don't have to stay with the number 6. You're just trying to circle to the left. So counterclockwise. The letter 6 is like a counterclockwise circle. So we're going to go in that direction with our hand, and then try to do I don't know if you can see my foot. We're going to do the opposite direction with your foot. Okay, so we're having an inner spiral, and if you don't think about it, your foot's going to automatically follow what your hand is doing. So just see if you can do opposition, where you're spiraling the other way with your foot than your hand. And it may be hard, and it may be easy. Now, I already have done this today, so the pattern's coming more quickly than it did when I first practiced this earlier this morning. So now go to the other side. So same thing, letter 6 with the left index finger, and just see if you can make the foot go in the opposite direction. And if you're like, I don't even know what that means, don't think about it and let your foot and your hand just start, and chances are they're going to be going in the same flow, and then try to move your foot the other way. So you might find, whoa, it's hard to do. You might find that this pattern is much more entrained, or you're more capable on one side of your body than the other side of your body. So that's good information. Just notice if you have capacity better in your left or right sides. And does that match up with your dominance, your left and right-handedness, or not? Okay. All right, so then just release that, and let's go ahead and sit comfortably for a moment. And just notice, it's kind of like the rubbing your belly and patting your head that we all learned as kids. All right, so just take a moment to find a comfortable seat and close your eyes. Settle in and just see what it feels like to drop your awareness into the body, into the breath. Let the eyes relax. Let the jaw begin to soften. And let's see if you can start to sense into the very center of the brain. So as the eyes begin to soften, let's first just relax the skull. See if you can melt the skull bones, feeling those fissures that when you were young melded together, kind of fused together. See if you can let them loosen a little bit. Let the mortar go just a bit between your bricks. And then see what it feels like to let the brain itself recede away from the skull bones, finding a softness. And when you retreat from the skull bones, try not to compress the brain in, so you're not pulling and squeezing the brain toward the midline. You're just relaxing and noticing that you have some space between the skull and the brain. And once you get a sense of relaxation through the skull, and travel all the way to the base of the skull, make sure the base of your skull is soft, around your ears, through the forehead. You know where your skull, it's not just the top of your head, so just go all around sensing. Relax your eyes, your jaw. Once you have a sense of peace, see what it feels like to let your inner eye, so try not to strain your eyeballs, behind your eyelids to do this. Let your inner eye gaze toward the very center of your brain. So be very careful that you're not trying to manipulate your outer eyes, your eyeballs, to do this. It's just an inner sensing, kind of turning the gaze deep to the inner places inside of our body. And just like we often find a deep center in the core of us, in our belly somewhere, your hara or dantian, let's see if we can find that same center point in the very center of your brain. Be very mindful to not strain or tense as you're searching for embodiment. And then once you access what you feel to be the center, notice if you're at the midline. And I think you've all seen pictures of the brain. Maybe you've even held a brain. Just see what it feels like. We have this very clear line between the left and right hemispheres of our brain. And although there's a lot of crossover, there's definitely connections. There's also clear distinctions. So sometimes I visualize it like taking a river trip down in the deep caverns in Utah, in the canyons. And these parts of our brains are like the big, wide, tall canyon walls. And our center place is deep down in the river. See if you can relax there. And with that midline in the brain, let's carry it all the way down our body. So travel into the spine. See if you can slide down the river of your spine, all the way through your neck, letting things relax and soften along the way, down through the center of the thoracic spine, and feel it in deep in your body, not in the back of your body, but in the center of your body. Traveling. And notice as you go, the places where you do feel symmetrical, or at least a little bit symmetrical. You have 2 arms, 2 shoulder blades, 2 collarbones, 2 sides of your rib cage. Traveling down into the pelvis, noticing the 2 hemispheres of your pelvic girdle, the midline being found through the sacrum, through the pubic symphysis. And even that sense of symmetry, even though you're probably sitting asymmetrically, if you're sitting cross-legged, notice that sense of balance between the 2 legs, the 2 hips. And travel back through your body again, and let's move the breath through this. So as you inhale, expand away from your midline. And as you exhale, return to the midline. So it's not a compression or a contraction. It's more just a condensement toward the midline, like refinement. So every breath, feel that sense of expansion away from the center, from the very center of your brain down to the pelvic floor. Find that sense of center line and expand away from it as you inhale and come back home to it on your exhale. What does it feel like in your shoulders, in your rib cage, in the pelvis? What does it feel like inside your ears to breathe out and in? Noticing if that third eye, that single pointed focus on the midline, is something that's soothing to you or straining to you. And if it is straining, relax, soften what you can. Let's see if we can maintain this sense of stability that comes from centeredness, balance, as much as you can through your practice. So let's open our eyes and come onto our back. So find your way onto the floor. Stretch your body out. All right, let's just take a moment to explore. Stretch your arms overhead. Do what we sometimes do. Maybe you want to yawn or hold your breath or squeeze, whatever's natural. And then go ahead and change this a little bit. So stretch from your navel out through your left foot and your right arm simultaneously. And then switch out through your right leg and your left arm simultaneously. So a little bit more vigorous than if you've done a navel radiation practice with me before. That's a little bit more assertive than just feeling the energy moving in opposition. See if you can actually feel a little bit of a stretch going back and forth. So instead of just the left side, just the right side. Find left leg, right arm. Find right leg, left arm. And just notice if this helps you stay in the center. You know, if there's a sense of balance that's different than when we go just left and just right. And then bring the knees into the chest. And being that we might do a few, not very much, but we might do a handful of some weird, unusual movement patterns. So be very mindful of your breathing through your practice. One thing that often happens when we're doing things that we have to concentrate on is we stop breathing. So if that's your tendency, if you're a breath holder when you concentrate, really keep an eye on your breathing through your practice today. Right knee into the chest, stretch your left leg long on the floor. Feel free to roll your ankles around a little bit, finding some space. And then as you're ready, let's hold the right hand on the right knee, left arm stretching over your head. And then let's switch the arms. Hold the knee with the left hand, right arm stretching over your head. And just go back and forth and notice what's different. Not only what's different in the body, but what's different in the sensation of the mind when you change from one to the other. So seek the subtle and then end up with your left hand on your right knee. Stretch that right arm overhead. Let's cross the knee past the midline. Not a lot, so don't go into a giant spinal twist. Just enough to feel that you're going past the midline. Still stretch the left arm and the left leg and the right arm. Are you breathing? And let's come back to center and switch sides. Left knee into the chest, right leg long on the floor. Feel free to move the ankles. And then when you're ready, stretch the right arm overhead, left hand on your knee. Extend through your body. And let's just change the arms just a couple of times and notice what's here. How do you feel different when you're holding with your left arm versus when you're holding with your right arm? What changes in the body, what changes in the mind? And then let's hang out with our right hand on our left knee. Stretch the right leg and the left arm, and then cross the left knee past the midline. Try not, you don't want to go like really deep into a spinal twist here. We're still extending through the left arm and the right foot. So internally rotate your right leg on the ground. And then come back home again. Starfish your body. Feel the symmetry. Arms and legs wide. Navel radiation from your navel to all 6 tips. Hands, feet, crown, tail. Exhale, come back home into the center of the body. One more time, let's feel symmetry. Even if, none of us are totally symmetrical, but feel the comfort of symmetry as best as you know it. Tuck in, and then let's go ahead and roll over onto our sides and come up onto our hands and our knees. All right, so as we come into some cat-cows, take your time here to just feel the grace of your spine. How are your movements? Are they choppy? Are they smooth? Are you able to segment out your vertebrae, or do your vertebrae feel like 3 or 4 of them are stuck together? So just find what you're finding. Take your time. And then feel free to move things around any way you want. So swirl through your shoulders, your hips. You can turn and look out over your sides. Anything that feels really good. All right, and then stretch back towards child's pose one more time. See if you can sense into the midline of the body, finding your breath. And then come up onto all fours. Let's find our twist. Right arm lifting up in the sky. Exhale and slide that shoulder down. Gaze toward the floor. Press your hand into the ground. Move the shoulders away from the ears and breathe. And then inhale and come back up. Reach that arm to the sky. Second side. Lift the arm. Exhale, drop the shoulder down. Gaze toward the floor. Feel a sense of spreading out through the collarbones, through the shoulder blades. Touch in with the feeling of the breath. And then inhale and lift that arm all the way back up and place your hand down onto the ground. So on all fours, we're going to do some bird dog. So hold on, taking my socks off. We're going to find that sense of cross-lateral work. This is probably the most simple way to find some cross-lateral work in the body. So take your left leg straight back behind you and your right arm out in front of you. Hug into the midline. Feel your core. Feel not only the arm and leg in the air, but the arm and leg on the ground as well. Take a deep breath in, and as we exhale, we're going to touch our elbow and knee underneath you. Inhale, bring it out. Listen closely. Exhale, cactus your knee and your elbow out to the sides. Inhale back. Exhale underneath you. Inhale out. Exhale, cactus. Be really mindful to stabilize through the core of your body. One more time each way. Inhale out. Exhale out to the sides. One more time, bringing your arm out. Bring your hand down onto the ground. Feel free to shake out your wrist or roll your wrist, anything that you need to do. And let's find the other side. So bring your right leg out behind you and your left arm out in front of you. Stabilize through the center of the body. Feel the connection with your hand and your knee on the ground, as well as your hand and your foot in the air. Find your breath. And as you're ready, let's exhale and come in, hug elbow and knee. Inhale, bring it out. Out to the side, cactus your knee and your elbow. Inhale, bring it back. Exhale, elbow and knee into each other. One more time, or two more times. Out to the side. Inhale back, look at the floor. Exhale, cross your elbow and knee underneath you. Inhale, reaching out. Stabilize through your core. Don't arch your back. Out to the side. Inhale, reaching your arm and leg long. Place your hand and knee down onto the ground. Find a cat-cow. Enjoy the symmetry in your body. Take a deep breath. Exhale, reach back to child's pose. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale, fold forward. Let's do that one more time. Reach the arms up, lean back. Exhale, relax. Take your hands out in front of you and lift up to dog pose. Pedal out your feet. You can kind of knead the floor with your feet or drop one heel on the other. Just get into the awakening of the bottom of your feet and the bottom of your palms. Feel where you touch the floor. Extend from there. Feel the yield push. Can you radiate out through your center to your limbs here? Can you feel the head bow in and the brain get some extra blood when we're inverting like this? Let that nourish that feeling of center, that feeling of being able to access the center point, the midline of the brain. Relax your jaw and your eyes. Full deep breaths. Expand away from the midline on your inhale. Condense back toward the midline on your exhale. All right, let's walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Fold in half. Relax your neck. Feel free to wag your tail or roll your shoulders or bobble your head. Just work out some kinks. Okay. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine can lengthen. You can hold your thighs or your shins or blocks. Exhale and fold. Again, push off your feet, rise up, reach the arms. Exhale and cactus the arms wide. Let's turn to the right. Let's come back to center. Let's turn to the left. Back to center. Reach the arms up. Exhale and fold forward. Okay. Halfway lift. Extend the spine and then melt. You can bend your knees. Blocks are nice if you want to grab some blocks. Let's go ahead and come into a lunge, taking the right foot forward and the left foot back. Okay. Stretch the heart. Finding your breath. Let's do a familiar movement that we often do. Straighten the legs, square the hips, bow the head. So lean into your sense of familiarity. Enjoy it. See if you can breathe well while you're finding familiar things. See if you can relax the brain. All right, let's come to a lunge. Find your breath here. We're going to stretch our left arm out in front of you and the right arm behind you. The right foot is forward, the left arm's out in front. Take a breath, and as you exhale, switch. Find your breathing. Inhale, switch. Exhale, switch. We're going to stay one more time with the left arm out in front of us. Extend through the spine. See if you can hug the midline with your hands and with your inner thighs. Find your breath and rise up just with your one arm. Reach and extend, lifting to the sky. Be mindful of your lumbar spine. Don't compress. Use your core. And then as you're ready, let's join the other arm with. Find that sense of symmetry in the upper body. Anything you want with your arms. Remember, your arms can be out, doing something different, whatever feels good. Exhale, we're going to come back to where we were with our left arm out in front of us, our right hand behind us, and we're low. Turn slightly to the right. A little bit of core work. Still extend that back leg. And then come back to center. Walk your back foot forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Let's step our left foot forward and our right foot back, stretching your heart. Okay. Find your way into some familiar movement as we warm up the legs. Don't forget to bow your head. Your chin can tuck a little bit. Finding your breath as you move. Wherever you like to breathe is fine. Just make sure you're still breathing. The hips are square. Enjoy the openness in the back hip, openness in the front hamstring and glutes. All right, and then let's come to a lunge. Steady yourself. So, a little hack to help your balance is to take your foot out to the side more. If you have a wider stance between your legs, balance is better. Okay. Extend the heart. Take your right arm out in front of you, the left arm back behind you. Heads of the arm bones lifting away from the floor, torso stays low. Stretch your crown and tail. Feel the midline with your legs. And let's start to switch. Using your breath. Switch one direction on your inhale. Switch the other direction on your exhale. If your shoulders are unhappy, try other weird movements. Okay, just do something unusual. And then we're going to stay put once we get to the right arm out in front. Extend the spine. When you're ready, rise up just with that one arm. Finding your breath. Try not to compress the low back and sink. See what you can do to rise up. Breathing. Both arms come to the sky. Extend. Drop the shoulders. Square the hips. And then we're going to come low again. Arm out in front of you. So our right arm's out in front, and we're just going to turn a little bit. Cross the midline a bit. Hug to the midline with your inner thighs. Okay. And then come back up. Place the hands down onto the ground. Back foot comes forward again. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Rise up, bend your knees. Lifting the arms to the sky. Trace down through the center line. Pause here for a moment and just enjoy your palms at your heart. See if you can return back to that meditative state of feeling the center line of the body. Noticing how the breath expands away and comes back home. All right, we're going to go ahead and pick up the right foot. Okay, stand on your left leg, pick up the right foot. Okay, with your right hand, we're going to draw the letter 6 and try to do opposite circles with, this is hard because I'm doing opposite sides from you, but try to go opposite in your circles. And notice if it's just a smidge easier than it was before, or if you return to the same rhythm. So you want to go opposite. Okay, and then go ahead and put that foot down, arms up. And let's go to the other side. So standing on our right leg, left leg in the air. With your left hand, draw the number 6. Notice if your foot wants to follow. See if you can keep the foot going in the opposite turn. This side's harder for me. I don't know which is easier for you guys. Okay, and then go ahead and put that foot down, arms up. Take a breath, exhale, and release. Back into our left foot. We're going to root down, lift your right knee up in the air. Bring both arms up to the sky. Exhale and twist to the right. Arms can come out. You can cactus your arms, whatever you want to do. Try to keep your standing leg, femur bone back, hip in, knee soft. And then we're going to switch. I think it's easier to cactus switch, but if your arms are out, that's fine too. You can go the other way. And then one more time, switching back. Lots of balance with movement. So keep breathing. One more time, switching. One more time, returning to the twist. Arms can be out or cactus, whatever feels good. Reach both arms up, put your foot down. Let's change sides. Ground through your left foot or right foot. Lift your left knee up in the air. Extend the heart, so try not to collapse, try not to push this hip forward. Find your breath. When you're ready, you can cactus open your arms. You can also have your arms straight out. So you get to decide which way feels better for your body. Lift through your crown, soften the knee you're standing on, and let's begin to turn. Turn to the other side. Can you keep the hips facing forward? And then back. And then back. All right, let's just do it one more time. Open up to the side, to the right. Exhale, twist to the left. Find your breath. Arms can come out or up, wherever you want them. Then inhale and reach your arms up. Place your foot down, exhale and fold forward. Halfway lift. Exhale and release. Step back to a plank. Okay, so find your body. Stabilize your body. Come into a core work. Okay, so we're going to need our core. We always need our core. Okay, so find what it feels like to stabilize here. Deep breaths. In and out. Shoulders away from the ears. Hug to the midline. Breathe away from the midline. All right, put your knees down and slowly come down to the floor. Push things out of the way so you have room for your arms to move out to the sides. Let's come up to a cobra pose. Open the chest. Exhale and melt back down. Take your arms down at your sides, forehead on the floor. Take a deep breath in. We're going to slide our our right arm out to the side. Left leg lifts. Exhale and release. Other side. Left arm swings around the side. Lift the right leg. Exhale and release. One more time. Right arm swings out and up over your head. Left leg lifts. Exhale and melt. Second side. Exhale and melt. Soften here for a moment. Breathe. You get to decide whether your arms are going to stay at your sides or come up over your head. For this, if your shoulder's bothering you, for sure choose the arms down at your sides. And we're going to just do some very classic hemisphere work that we often do. So right arm, left leg lifting, and then release it down. Remember the core.
So you don't want to just be lazy through your center body as you do this because you'll overarch your back. So stabilize with your deep abdominal muscles and lift the arm and leg in opposition. So just going back and forth with the breath. So the right arm and the left leg lift at the same time, and then the left arm and the right leg lift at the same time. Stabilizing through your center. Now, if you want to stay moving slowly, you can. If you want to move faster, you can lift everything up and just go back and forth. Make sure you're stable through your core. Arms can be down. You can be doing all this with your arms down at your sides. Deep breaths. All right, and then relax. Lift up your feet and windshield wiper your knees left and right. Come back up onto all fours. Find any kind of movement your back needs. So some swirls, some cat-cows, some hip circles, whatever feels good. We're coming back to our bird dog, right arm out, left leg out. Exhale and touch underneath you. Inhale out. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, come out. Exhale, down. Second side. Left arm, right leg. Deep breath. Exhale, in. Inhale, bring it out. Exhale, cactus out to the side with elbow and knee. Inhale, bring it out. Exhale, bring it down. Come up to dog pose. Lengthen through your sides. Find your breath. Pedal your feet a little bit. Feel your ground. Yield, push. When you're ready, we're going to lift our left leg. You can bring it high or low, and we're going to bring our right arm off the floor. Once again, high, or maybe it's just hovering off the ground. So if you feel all wonky, that's okay. Be in the wonkiness. It's okay to tap down. Find your breath. Extend through the spine. Hug to the midline. Breathing. And then place that hand down, place the foot down, and change sides. So your right leg's going to lift up high in the air or a little lower if you need that for balance. Remember, you can always take your arms and legs wider on the mat to give you a better sense of balance, okay? And then you can lift the arm, and don't worry, everybody's wobbly, everybody. So just be in the weirdness of it. See if you can find the midline, find your breath. All right, and then go ahead and place the hand and the foot down and walk your feet forward. Relax your arms, fold in, let the head and the brain soften. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Rise up, bend your knees, turn to the long edge of your mat. Okay, so feet are wide. Finding your breath, fold forward from the hips. Bring your hands down onto the floor. If you can't reach the floor, grab a block and put it underneath your hands. And we're just going to simply move into a twist first. Left hand comes into the middle. Inhale, right arm up to the sky. Notice the hips, so probably your left hip wants to drop down. Keep lifting it back. And then place the hand down onto the ground. Second side. Discovering the breath. Lift the right hip. Shoulders away from the ears. And then exhale and release. And we're going to do this a little bit differently. So I want you to bend into your right knee and lift the right arm up. And then we're going to cross over and bend into the other knee, hand on the ground, left arm in the air. So you can do this very slowly, kind of going back and forth between the two sides. You can do this much quicker. So no matter what you're choosing to do, whether you're moving fast or you're moving slow, make sure you're bending. Get into the squat of this pose. So we're not doing this with our legs straight. We're going deep into the lunge and then deep into the other side. So once again, you're moving slow or you're moving fast or anything in between. Are you breathing? And then find your way back to center. Extend the spine, relax a bit. Deep breaths in and out. Then heel toe your feet in. Turn to the short edge of your mat or face me. Bend your knees, come on up. Arms coming to the sky again. Let's cactus open the arms. And then exhale and round in. First, just cross one arm over the other. Feel your shoulders. Give yourself a little bit of a cross hug. And notice if this is soothing to you. And we're going to come into eagle pose. So stand on your right leg. Let it sink. Actually, we're not going to go into eagle pose. Back up just a second. First, let's do chair pose. Let's warm up for eagle pose. Inhale, arms up, 2 feet on the ground. Exhale, come into a chair. Draw the knees back into the hips. Let there be some compression in the hip joints. Notice the low back. So notice if you tend to overarch or underarch, find neutral arch in the spine. Finding your breathing. Arms can go anywhere you want. Let's twist here. Take a deep breath. Going right. Inhale, back up. Going left. Try to keep the knees aligned to the front. Inhale, back. Place your hands anywhere you want them. Okay, we're going to hover our left foot up in the air. Stand on your right knee. Find your breath. We're going to turn to the left while our left knee is up. Now you wish we were doing eagle pose, right? Put your foot down, inhale, rise up. Exhale, squat again into our chair. Now we're gonna go deep into our left leg, hover the right foot, so it's not high. Just hover your foot over the floor, find your breath. Lots of work in your glutes, your legs, twisting to the side. Turning left, turning right. Breathing. And then come back. Place your foot down, chair pose one more time. And then rise up. Arms up overhead. Release your hands down. Separate your feet for a moment. Let's take things wide. Open up to a starfish. Deep breaths. Radiate navally from your center to your edges. All right, and then release your arms down and walk your feet back together. Now we'll come into eagle pose. So we're standing on our right foot. We're going to cross our leg over. So you can cross at the ankles. If you know your body doesn't do well with a deep cross, you can squat into a chair and put thigh over thigh. This foot can hang, or you can wrap it or tuck it, whatever it goes. Make sure you're not turning the hips to the side. Keep your pelvis and your shoulders square. Because we're having our left leg over our right, we're going to put our right arm over our left. Look at your forearms. See if you can center yourself so your peripheral vision takes over. As you inhale, breathe away from the midline. As you exhale, hug to the midline. Squeeze your armpits, squeeze your legs, squeeze your elbows. Finding your breath. Whoa. Don't worry if your balance goes off. Stay present. And then unwind the posture back into your starfish. And then release and relax. Pause for a minute before we do the second side. Let your feet find their way into the ground. Feel the yielding. Soft knees, deep breaths. Then we're going to stand on our left leg. You can cross at the ankles. You can squat like a chair and cross thigh over thigh. Bring your left arm on top of your right arm. Try not to turn to the side. Keep facing forward. Look at your forearms. Let your peripheral vision find their way. Don't worry if you get wobbly. Okay, the pose is not about stuckness and staticness. It's about breath and embodiment. Squeeze on your exhales. And open things up. Lift your elbows. Open your chest. Breathe into the expansion of your ribs on your inhale. Exhale, squeeze to the midline. Feel all the crossing of your hemispheres. All right, and then open up. Spread your arms and legs wide. Exhale and fold forward. Let's come into a squat. So we're taking our feet, you can even take them wider than your mat if you want to. You can either put your elbows on top of your knees or inside your knees. Extend the heart forward, shoulders away from the ears, finding breath, finding midline, finding symmetry. All right, and then let's place our hands down onto the ground and step back to dog pose. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. Notice if the pose starts to feel a little softer as you move through your practice. Can you melt the head? Can you feel that sense of finding the midline, finding the center of the brain, resting the center of the brain, resting the eyes and the ears? Okay, and then let's come down onto your knees. Find a cat-cow again, arching the back, rounding the spine. Stretch back to child's pose. Rise up onto your shins. Deep breath. Trace down the center and come back. If you can't sit on your heels, just stay up on your shins for a moment. So you can be up or you can be down. Close your eyes. Feel your palms steadying you into the midline. That sense of symmetry in your body and in the breath. Can you even make the breath symmetrical? Can you make the inhales match the exhales? All right, and then we're going to come on to all fours. We're going to find a plank again, and we're going to do that same weird movement that we did in dog pose before, where we lift opposites. So you can always put your knees down and do bird dog instead if you feel like this is a little too much for bearing weight on your shoulders or just for whatever reason. Okay, so we're going to come into a plank. Find your breath. Find your stableness. Find the inhales expanding you, the exhales condensing you toward your midline. Remember, you can take your feet and the hands wider if you need that for stability. We're going to lift our right arm and our left leg. Find your breath. Don't worry if you wobble. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to put your hand or your foot down. Full body engagement. Okay, and then put that hand down, put that foot down. You can rest for a moment on your knees. And then let's come up and we'll do the second side. So now our left arm and our right leg are going to come off the floor. Engage through your core. You can always have your knee down on the ground and doing this with your knee on the floor. All right, and then let's go ahead and release your hand and your foot down. Everybody put your knees down and find your way to the ground. Pause here for a moment. Put your forehead on your forearms. Take a deep breath. And now we're going to pick up your feet. Take our legs wide. So you want your toes to the edges of the mat. And everything's going to be symmetrical now. So instead of the cross hemisphere work, arms can be down, arms can be out, arms can be up. Back of the neck stays long. Everything lifts. Do you have evenness through your limbs? Are they lifting the same height? Are they working in the same amount? Are you stable through the core of your body? Are you breathing? All right, and then relax. Come back. Maybe child's pose. Maybe you'd rather have a pit stop on all fours and do some movements with your pelvis. So whatever feels good for your spine. Rest your forehead. You can take your arms down at your sides or not. All right, and then we're going to come up to stand. We have a couple more things to do in our standing pose. So take your feet wide again. This time, instead of crossing like this past the midline, we're going to do it with our body upright. Okay, so we're going to come over and then swing across to the front. Now, you can do whatever you want. Okay, so I want you to be creative. With your upper body, you can do any kind of movements that feel good. Okay, so just let your upper body find its way into crossing the midline as you feel deep deep compression in the hip joints, a lot of work in the legs as you find your way over. So there's so many different things you can do to cross the midline, however you want to do that. So crossing the midline doesn't have to mean crossing the midline here. It can be. It can also be lateral crossing of the midline, okay? So there's lots of ways to move into this plane. Be creative, be fluid, breathe. And then find your way into a very deep squat. Relax your torso down. And then pick your hips up. Turn your toes forward. Relax. Deep breath in. Deep breath away. Okay, we're going to come onto our back now. Finding your breath. We're going to lay down. Don't think the work is over. It's not quite yet, almost, but not quite yet. And we're going to do some pretty classic yoga abdominal work. So interlace your fingers. And for the sake of learning new patterns, interlace them the weird way behind your head, the not comfortable way. Now you can keep your knees bent, or you can have your legs straight for this. Take a deep breath in, and we're going to cross the line, cross the hemisphere line. So lifting left arm to right knee, back up, and going the opposite direction. So be very mindful that we're not pulling our elbows over. We're trying to work with the chest. And if your knees are bent, that's totally fine. Okay, so there's ways to go about this without overtaxing your core. Okay, so you can either leave your knees like together and not move them, or you can do the bicycle thing where you straighten one leg out and then the other. Be really mindful that you're not pulling on your head no matter what you're doing with your core. So the head is resting on the pillow of your hands, and you're really using the torso to cross instead of the arms to cross. Keep breathing. One more time each side. Knees into your chest. Rock around a little bit, circle the knees. And then put your feet down on the floor. Some unusual movements of the arms. So listen closely as we move up into some rolling bridges. So have your heels close to the pelvis. First, we're just going to lift the hips up and our arms come to the sky. So right over our chest. And then the pelvis and arms come down. Inhale, pelvis up. Left arm stays put. Right arm lifts over your head. Then join the two hands over your shoulders and come back to pelvis down. So just moving in this way, stopping one hand from going all the way overhead, just letting the opposite arm go overhead while the other one is stationary over the chest. One more time, lifting the arm over the head while the other one stays put, and exhale, melt. Now let's find symmetry in bridge pose. Lift your pelvis, get onto the tops of your shoulders, press your arms. You can either have your elbows bent and press just your upper arms, or you can have your arms straight and press your whole arm into the floor. Be really mindful that you're not pushing your neck into the ground. You want your neck to be neutral. Chest lifts, throat softens, even effort in your legs. And then release and relax toward the floor. Feet are wide on the mat. Windshield wiper your knees, left and right. Opposite arm stretching overhead, so as knees go left, right arm comes up. As knees go right, left arm comes up. And then come back. Reverse your pigeon pose. Bring your right foot on top of your left knee. Grab behind your thigh or wherever you want to grab. Feel free to rock. Feel free to be still. Deep breath here. Exhale away. All right, and then relax. Change sides. We're going to cross our left foot over our right knee. And go ahead and come up to reverse pigeon pose on this side. Feel free to rock a little bit if you like. Feel free to be still. If you're holding onto your shin and you feel like your neck is lifting up off the ground, back up and hold onto the back of your thigh instead. It's the same stretch, but it makes your upper back and neck relax a little bit more. All right, let's unwind that. 2 feet together, soles of the feet together. Feel free to grab your blocks or blankets and stick them underneath your hips or knees for a moment, or you can just let them hang. We won't be here too long. So resting in Supta Baddha Konasana, where do you want your arms? Okay. Notice if there's symmetry in how open your pelvis is left and right or not. It's pretty rare to find symmetry. So just notice what you're feeling. And I always am amazed at how I can feel something in my body and then I look and there's a different thing happening on the outside. So if you want to pick up your head, if you notice, I feel like my right knee is way higher than my left, or whatever you're feeling. And then use your hands like that sit-up we did before. Lift your head up and notice if that's true. If your inner sensation, if your right knee is way higher than the left, or is it not? So just notice if your inner sensation matches your outer sensation or outer viewing. And that's not to say you should lean on one or the other, but it's just like the 2 hemispheres of the brain, that we have 2 different feedback mechanisms. You know, we have our interoception and proprioception, that is our feedback on the inside. And then we have, you know, where we actually are in space on the outside. So sometimes our proprioception, which is our perception of where we are in space, is different than reality, than we actually where we are in space. So our goal is to unify. Take some deep breaths and just experience the midline. Breathe away, exhale in. Let's go ahead and bring our knees back to center. Bring our knees to our chest. We're going to do a little Nadi Shoshana before Shavasana, so bear with me having to sit back up for a moment. Okay, so come to sit comfortably, whether it's on a block in between your feet in Virasana or sitting on a blanket or something. Find your breath. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I'm not sure it's muted. Hey, Willie. Okay, so let's go ahead and find our breathing. So we're going to start with a sense of 2 nostrils. Okay, and then as we're ready, we're going to take our hand, our thumb on our right. So you want to take your thumb on your right thumb on the top of your nostril, so not really low on the bottom tip of your nostril, but a little higher, and your ring finger on the left top nostril. And the other 2 fingers can tuck under. I've seen people do it with their fingers on their forehead too, but traditionally you tuck them under, whatever's comfortable for you. Find a comfortable seat. Drop your chin slightly, lift your chest slightly, nothing too extreme. And notice, try not to pull your head over to the side with your arm. We're going to inhale through our left, close off the right. Then close off the left and breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Close off, breathe out through the left, everybody's breathing pattern is a little different. So you might go slower or faster, so I won't breathe with you, but just know that you breathe out, you breathe in, you switch sides. Out, in, switch. Out, in, switch. Be mindful to not drop your head off to the side. Keep your chest lifted, not rigidly so. Find a little softness, melt just a bit. Relax your eyes, feel that third eye, that centering of the brain as you breathe through one side and cross over to the other. It's okay to make noise. It's okay to stop and blow your nose. Now you may find that one nostril is much more closed off than the other. You might also find that after our practice with moving through the cross-lateral body patterns, that maybe both nostrils are a little bit more free than they sometimes are when you do Nadi Shoshana cold without any prep work. If you feel short of breath, you stop. Pranayama is never something that's forced. It's always something that's welcomed. Notice if you like this, if it feels good, if it feels spacious inside your skull. And when you're ready to be done, make sure you breathe out through the left to complete. So follow your pattern until you're naturally breathing out through your left. And then keep that centered place and lie down for Shavasana. So any support that you need. When you're lying down, see if you can let yourself be as far away from the midline as you want to be, or as close toward the midline as you want to be. Once you're horizontal, feel and comfortable, you have the support that you're needing. See if you can feel that sense of navel radiation expanding away from your center to your tips. And exhaling to condense, not to grip or tense, but to condense, refine back toward the exhale and the midline. Okay, so moving the breath like your body is breathing instead of just your lungs. Noticing your nostrils, if they're open and free, and the swirling that happens in the turbinates in your sinuses. Can you feel that the breath is airing out your brain? Just like you have open windows to air out the room, can the breath air out the brain? Is there softness through your jaw and your tongue? Is there softness in your eyes? Do you have that sense of relaxing, being comforted in the midline? Are your limbs steady and even? Do they feel even weighted or not? Allow yourself to rest in the pose, rest in the breath. As you're ready,
begin a little bit of movement. And remember, you can always, you're home. You can stay in Shavasana for 10 more minutes if you want to. Just shut down your laptop to close the cover and just be here. But if you're ready to move, let's gently stretch away from our center line, outward, and then draw the knees into the chest. Come onto your side and rest for a moment there. Take your time. As you come to sit, breathe through both nostrils. See if even your breath can have that harmonizing, balanced effect on the brain. Do you feel centered? Do you feel grounded? Do you feel in balance between the two hemispheres? Whatever the merits of your practice, place your hands and offer your energy outward. Share with another who maybe is off balance in your life, having trouble finding center. Send your love, your care. All right. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.